afternoon and welcome to Secret Sauce, Get the Recipe, where we bring you unexpected stories of everyday leaders around the globe. We're very excited to have you today for our premiere episode, and we hope to show you a diverse group of innovators doing multiple things throughout the course of this season. Today's guest is a brilliant woman and one of the key ingredients driving virtual reality at Ford. I had the privilege of a few weeks ago heading out to Detroit, Michigan and Dearborn to Ford's headquarters. It was a little chilly, but my mind was completely blown by what I saw. As a matter of fact, Ford envisions a world where 3D space replaces the pen and paper of design's past, creating the opportunity for radical collaboration through virtual space. Geography no longer limits their team, and a lack of a Z-axis no longer inhibits their designs. Engineers and industrial designers can explore real-size virtual vehicles and shape and build the machines of our future together without even being in the same room or near a piece of hardware. Can you believe that? Ford's application of VR ranges from shaping new Mustangs to machine mechatronics to ergonomics on the assembly line. Now, I want to tell you about a very special part of my Ford experience out in Michigan. And when I walked into the Ford 5 lab, 5 is the Ford Immersion Vehicle Evaluation Lab, it was like entering some fortress of the future. There's a giant near theatrical screen surrounded by black curtains, dark carpet, and multiple mounted sensors. I felt almost childlike excitement watching the clever and energetic 5 team demo some of the stuff they've been working on. We explored a full-size Mustang in the near pitch black room, looking at each layer of the machine the same way the engineers and designers do when they're building it. I was super impressed by the woman leading this lab, and I'm elated to have her on the show today. Please join me in welcoming Elizabeth Barron. She is such a treat. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us from Michigan, taking the time. I'm just
having me.
Good. I'm just as excited to have you here today as I was seeing you a few weeks ago. It's great to see that familiar Mustang in the background. You are so well informed. And something I really think struck a chord when we were promoting the show and talking to people ahead of time. Not many people know you've been doing VR at Ford for almost 2 decades.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, and you, of all people, have an incredibly impressive history at Ford. Can you tell me and the rest of the audience when you started working there and what VR looked like back then?
Sure. So I've actually just had my 29th anniversary at Ford. So February 3rd of 1988, I started working at Ford Motor Company, and I've been involved in technology the entire time. But when I started working at Ford, virtual reality wasn't really a mainstream thing or even an idea that was ready for any type of exploration at the company. So, I did software development and other things for a while, and that was awesome. But when I heard about virtual reality, I thought, there's so much potential here. But it really was an idea whose time hadn't come yet, but it's been a great ride. So I've been working in virtual reality since 1999.
Wow, that is so impressive. And I remember when you told me this in Dearborn, I actually made you repeat it because I could not believe that you had been doing that and how cool that was that you had pioneered that. I mean, anytime you bring a new technology and innovation into a company as big and diverse as Ford, I imagine it's a pretty wild transition. We're lucky that you happened to dig up some relics for us to share.
I did. I thought you guys would appreciate the journey that we've been on.
It's so good. We were all smiling watching these in the green room before the show. I'm so excited. Elizabeth, I'm going to let you just talk us through these and
okay.
And we'll have all that content pulled up right next beside you.
Okay, so the first image was something we call digital occupant, and we got suited up full body. So that's me many moons ago, back in, I don't know, that was probably 2001-ish time frame. And I'm fully suited up with markers, and then you could see my avatar there, and I am in a car. But because the tracking we were using was magnetic. That is a wood vehicle. It's a thing of beauty. I really wish I would have saved it. It's made out of oak and mahogany, and it adjusted to any car that we were looking at building. And so that's my avatar. You can kind of see me holding the steering wheel, and you can see what my eye view looks like. But that was our first try, and we're really looking at ergonomic assessments of like the person scaling to different size people. So I could become a tall male or a really small female and do some ergonomic evaluations. So that was the first try. And that was super cool, but kind of being suited up and having all this equipment on you was making our people at Ford feel like they were cyborgs. So not necessarily where we want to go to be cutting edge and quick. So we kind of changed tact a little bit, and some technology innovations came out, and then we came out with immersive VR. So that's the next innovation, and that's an image that shows what it looks like, so you can see the quality is better. But in this case, we were focusing on getting you connected to the car. So we put you in a car, and now it can be metal and scalable, but now you can like touch and see, and we're adding more capabilities, but you could actually see in the rearview mirror there's a reflection. So we're doing things that were pretty advanced at the time, but you can still see the data left some room for to be desired as far as the quality. And so then we moved on, and we looked at the next level of innovation. And if you show that next slide, then you'll see that now we're looking at manufacturing process. So some of the people on that team, you can't really see much in that picture, but it shows the growth. So we're looking at a 46-inch TV. The woman that you see over on your right, she's immersed in looking at the inside of a car from the outside, and she's looking at how the manufacturing process variation could be applied to the vehicle design. And so look at the space she's in. That's actually the same spot I'm in and the same spot you were in, Savannah, but it doesn't look the same. So that was really the precursor, what it looked like before we really got super serious with making the visual quality even better. And then if you scroll to the next slide, you'll see that we did some innovations, and we got to a point where we added more process capability into the vehicle. The data looked really good, and we added motion and animations into the car. And we could do pretty much a full vehicle and put an engine in there, and but we're taxing the system. But we were really excited at that level of visual quality. But of course, we weren't done. So if you go to the next one, you'll see, if you kind of make that one full screen and then go to the next one, you'll see that the difference in how much better the quality is for the vehicle. And so then we got to the point where we can cut sections and do that cool stuff that you saw, Savannah, where we can just like slice through the car and look at all that data that's in there. There's a full engine in there, the hood's off. We can check engineering, we can check the design, and walk around an entire F-150 in this big, beautiful, empty room that's occupied by that cool virtual vehicle. So we've come a long way.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I used to work at Shapeways, and being in 3D printing, rapid prototyping meant making something in a few hours. In virtual space, you can truly make it instantly and get that feel for if it'll fit, if it works, if visually it all makes sense. It's so impressive.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's cool that you mentioned rapid prototyping, because if you think about 3D printing and additive manufacturing, we can put stuff in a car, right? We can make a shape of a car and then 3D print the switches in there and stuff. And then now you can touch and see and feel, and it all looks great, but all the switches operate. So it's super great. It just the innovations outside of virtual reality that we can bring inside, it just never ends.
Oh yeah, that notion of radical collaboration through virtual space was something that just kept coming up the whole visit in Dearborn, and you're such a great example of that in the 5 Lab. So I'm a little curious about your personal journey. When you first started experimenting with VR at Ford, do you remember how those conversations went? How did you know this was a technology that the company should take seriously?
So, yeah, I believed, so when I made my title, I put virtual reality together with advanced visualizations. That's my official title. Back in the day, that was really laughable because you could see some of the visual quality was, really kind of poor. But I had that vision. And so when I would say, come to my lab, which was, in various stages of goodness, right? And get immersed and try this stuff. Um, there were visionaries that would give it a try. And there were many people that would say, well, I don't see what kind of value I'm going to get out of that right now. I'll keep you in mind, very nicely. But in general, there were always people who were willing to try and were able to see the potential. And so we would incrementally add value to different program teams and different cars along the way until we really demonstrated that it had this huge potential and should be everywhere. So basically those conversations would go, it would be me going out and saying, could you please come in and try what we're doing? You just got to experience it. You have to get inside your design. You have to think volumetrically and let your mind go free. And you'll be surprised at what a little bit of immersive information will really give you. And there were always those people out there that would give it a try. So it's been a good journey, but it wasn't at a point where I could say, now we're going to do this. And then we just started working this new way, because you really had to have those champions that would, embrace what we could see could happen.
Absolutely. I think you're touching on something that every entrepreneur really struggles with. And before I dive into that, just real quick, hello to everyone who is watching us right now. Jen Nelson, JT, Vinny, love seeing you in the audience. Bruno, welcome. I hope you're all enjoying the show so far. Please do be sure and let us know if you have any questions as we're rolling here, or cheer on Elizabeth and I as we take you on this reality journey. Yes, exactly. And we welcome you wherever you are, whether you're with us from Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook. It's fantastic to have you here for our first episode. But going back to your point there, Elizabeth, I mean, solving new needs is incredibly challenging. And I think a lot of people, when they're inventing or creating or starting something new, get very frustrated by the fact that the world hasn't woken up to it yet. No. And when you are on the front lines of the evolution of technology, you're going to wake up to it, in your case, decades before the world wakes up to it. And it's that patience and that perseverance internally within the organization, as well as I'm sure with some fun external stuff, that got you where you are today. And that's one of the things I think was really striking about your story, and one of the reasons I wanted everyone to hear it today, is the journey is often long, but it's so cool and worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting because I kind of have a double whammy going here, because not only was the technology quite ready when I started working on it, but I do work for an automotive company. I do not work for a high-tech startup. And so because my discipline isn't pure automotive, I bring a serious technology that helps everybody at Ford do a job better, get more insight, get more understanding, but it is not a widget that goes on a vehicle. And so I had really those two things that I had to overcome, because people would say, what is she doing? We have, a need for these things to be done for the vehicle. Why is she spending time working on this tech? What's going on with that? But I always had a champion in leadership that would say, no, it's important to do these things. We need to invest in this. It will pay off later. But so I had that going on twice.
And yet you still kept persevering. I love it.
I know. It was like I do have a lot of perseverance, a lot of passion for the technology, what it could bring. I had a background in photography and an understanding of optics and light. So you really bring it all together, and it's just a perfect storm for this cool tech that I'm working on.
Yes, I love that too. Creatives listening out there know that your creative eye can have a very technical application.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
technology would be nothing without the creative side. I mean, that if you look at the Mustang behind me or some of those images, it just, if it didn't look real and emote, we wouldn't have anywhere near the significance, because it has to connect on that emotional level to you.
Oh yeah, that's so true. In art and in innovation, if there isn't emotion, what's the point? There's no impulse buy there.
Yep.
So this is great because it leads us essentially to where you are now. And given that you really had to handhold pretty much the entire automotive industry, I imagine, through the necessity of virtual reality, when you got to create the Ford Immersion Vehicle Evaluation Lab, the 5 Lab, where you are now in 2013, I believe, what was that like? Did you feel like that was a bit of a breakthrough for you, or had it happened sooner at Ford?
No, I felt totally like it was a breakthrough, because in 2013, we upgraded our software. We created that beautiful space that you came to, and it was radically different, and it was a brand new concept. So no other automotive or OEM had been doing what we were doing. So like the concept of having this free space that you come in and have this engineering and design mixer, there's like no chairs, no place where you can kind of park yourself and get fed a PowerPoint. It was like a totally new concept, and it was seen as special and valuable from the moment we turned on the projector and started rolling. So no, there was a time when we walked in and said, it is finished. Oh my gosh, this is, and then of course we weren't finished, right? Because we kept going, and now we have ray tracing and all these other cool innovations. But yeah, I definitely had a moment like, we have done something special here.
Oh, I love that. That's the best. It's, as everyone says, it takes 10,000 hours or 10 years to be an overnight success. And I bet
Yeah, that's good.
definitely had that feeling, of wow, here it all is together, and you have such a wonderful team. I had the privilege of meeting, and I'm sure you'd be the first to say nobody makes it happen without a great team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so
And it's cool because a good team, like the synergy that comes when you understand each other and everybody's got their ideas, and we bounce ideas off each other and laugh. You got to have fun. You have to laugh, and it's joyful to come in, and you could just think how much innovation happens in a joyful place. It's awesome.
I love that. Can we make that a new mandatory rule, that if you're going to create a space for innovation within your company or within your product, that there needs to be joy as a part of that? I legitimately couldn't agree more. Just want to say a quick hi to Dave, Alexander, Samantha, Sophie. I see from this list actually that we have viewers all the way from New Zealand with us right now.
Oh,
so
wow.
hello to New Zealand. Thank you for joining us today. There's a lot of virtual reality that happens down there, but it's always nice when we can connect the continents through these broadcasts. I actually have a fun surprise today for today's show, and this is the first time I've done this. I think it might be one of the first times it's happened in live streaming land. I actually have a live audience with me, and they're joined. It's a cross of generations here. I wonder if we can pull them up on the screen so you can see them. These are my fun. Oh, we're a little frozen. Sorry. We'll see if we can get them up in a second. It's quite fun. I have, a headset here in my living room from my trip out to Michigan. And I gotta ask, did you think when you started doing this years ago that we would get to the point where we could have cardboard and lenses in our living rooms and have our own cameras?
I really didn't think that. And it is so awesome to see all the innovations that have happened, and especially in the headset space, because I thought that was such a great idea. And yeah, just to have it anywhere you want, anytime, get an app on your phone, check out Bohemian Rhapsody, whatever you want to do. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty, it's very amazing. Looks like Samantha has a question in the comments. Rob, you mind being my relay?
Okay, so the question was, how did I find the champion in management, and how would I suggest going about finding a champion if you need? Yes. And so the way I found my champion, it's actually pretty interesting because what I did was a lot of uh, like hitting the pavement and pounding the pavement and bringing in everybody that I could think of who could possibly get value. And then I was really bold and did things that weren't the norm at Ford. And I asked, and it's just shocking what you can get if you ask. So I would send an email to a leader in the company and say, I have this technology. Would you please come and check it out? And these are the things I want to show you. And I'd like to take a half hour of your time and let you experience it. And so I literally just asked, like, vice presidents, directors, people in leadership positions in the company, can you please come and try? So I would work with like the grassroots level and the top down level. And it's just like throwing noodles at a fridge, something will stick. And there was a visionary out there, and there was more than one. And that's really how I did it. I was just very persistent. And even though I can't say I wasn't afraid to ask, there's a little bit of, trepidation, but I would ask.
No, that's fantastic. I think you touched on something that was very prominent in rapid prototyping too, is feeling is believing, seeing is believing. Once people can be off an idea, but it's very hard for them to say no to a totally dramatic experience. Right. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. Also, I just want to make sure that the audience caught that incredible analogy, throwing noodles at a fridge. So just that was great. My whole family's from the Midwest. That was classic Midwest. I love it. Thank you for that little gem. Speaking of my family, it's actually my mother in the studio audience today as well. I believe we've got that portion working. Maybe, Rob? Yes, awesome. So here is our live studio audience. They have the Ford VR headset and have been playing with it throughout the broadcast, which is super fun. And so just since we were talking about you, Mom, and you can just speak loud enough, what do you think? This was your first VR experience.
It was my very first, and I feel like I'm one step closer to my bucket list of riding in a race car or perhaps driving one.
Woo!
Cool.
That's awesome. Wow. Listen to that, Elizabeth. One bucket list item at a time.
Hey.
The Ford VR experience. That is so cool. Excellent. Oh, Bruno has a question similar to Bruno, don't worry, I'm going to ask your question here in just a second. But right before we go to the future, I want to touch on, because you're giving some excellent advice for the creatives in the audience, and that's so key to us here, is telling the stories that are not just grandiose and flattering for those who have achieved, but for those really on the journey. And so talk a little bit about the Go Further DNA at Ford and on your team in particular. What do you think are some of the things you all have in common? What do you look for in building a team?
Yeah, sure. So what I look for in a team is there's a few major qualifications. One is, are you nice? Are you do you work well with everybody else? Because we really are serious and about the tech, and we're serious about each other. We are a well molded team. We connect with each other. We have each other's backs. And so really it has to be whoever comes to the team, we need that. We need, a group of people that just is so excited to be with each other every day. The other thing I look for is the passion and the ideas. And then a lot of everything else we can teach. So we can talk about immersive environments, we can learn software packages, but thinking volumetrically and understanding the value of what being in an immersive space brings over what flat screen can do. Those things are really kind of in you to bring out. And so really that's what we're looking for. So our DNA is really about being connected to each other, and then being motivated as a team, And then it's actually really interesting because everybody on our team has something that nobody else has. So we all have our specialty and our thing that we do really well. And then there's just enough overlap with everybody else that when we come together, it's just magic.
Is it safe to say that that special thing is your secret sauce?
Exactly. It is our secret sauce. You are so wise, Savannah.
There was a little thought behind the branding on this show, but I'm really glad it's worked out. Episode 1. That's fantastic. I absolutely, I love that. You actually really just touched my heart because I think you just nailed it. I think a lot of people think they can't do wild and new things if they don't have a background in that. And the reality is nobody has a background in that wild and new thing when
exactly.
It's out. It's totally a juxtaposition of skills. I personally studied political science and communication, did not anticipate becoming a futurist or a technologist because I'm dyslexic. If you're listening and you're one of those, don't let it stop you.
That's right.
Ways to get where you want to go that don't involve the sort of predetermined trajectory. And especially if you're interested in new technologies like virtual reality, it's just not, there's no guidebook yet. There's no formula. So
exactly. And it's funny because like where we've been on my journey, some of those environments I was in bringing this technology, I didn't have like my little nice desk with my plant and my picture of my kids. And, I've been in dirty labs. So it's like you not only have to think out of the box, but you have to be out of the box. You just have to find these crazy spaces and, like you said, think differently. And it's just amazing all the talent that's out there. And it's not really all about being able to write up a document really well.
I think you really nailed it when you said you can teach the particular skill sets, but you can't teach passion. You can't stoke a fire that doesn't already exist. And I think that's really the key ingredient to any proper hustler. Oh, awesome. Wow. So we actually have one of our active audience members right now works for Ford in Portugal. Bruno, we're so glad to have you here. I love it. And that's great. It actually parlays us perfectly into our next question. So I want you to answer this as on a really high level and also how it applies to Ford and what you hope that means for your team at 5. What is the future of virtual reality?
Oh, wow. Okay. So really high level, I think the future is mixed. And by that, I mean mixed reality. So I think doing things pure virtual, we have that down in a lot of ways. There's always room for improvement, but in general, we have that down. But the mixed space where there's some physical and some virtual, and we can kind of ebb and flow between, levels of physicality and virtuality, I think that's where the future is. So we're going to be doing more with some physical in the space and some virtual in varying degrees, and then adding props and taking them away and all that good stuff. So really high level, that's what I think. And what I think it means for Ford is it allows us to go beyond labs. So right now I'm in this awesome lab, and it's will always be here because there's a case where you need to come together as a global team. But there's also lots of other vehicle development going on. And so what I see is the democratization of the technology, where it's on people's desks and it's on a vehicle that's already sitting there that we want to figure out how to change so we can augment it and mix virtual and physical. And so I see it proliferating as a technology, just like monitors are all over the company now.
Awesome. That is fantastic. If you had a VR dream, what need would it solve for the world working or on a humanitarian effort level rather?
Oh, wow. So I would, if I had a VR dream, I would want to democratize it for the world because there are a lot of people that have mobility issues or financial issues or things where they can't just go places and see things. And other people are very blessed and they can experience the world in all of its glory. But I think immersive environments could proliferate and bring like joy to people that are bound in like a physically not able to get out, or they're too old to travel, or they're ill, or whatever those things are. I think this technology can be so much more. And then the other thing is adding more senses. So, physical senses like shaking, like movement in your world, and audio cues, smell, touch, all that stuff. So there is so much more to do.
Oh yeah, haptics and that whole immersive experience.
Yep.
And the deeper we dive, the more you want to be completely immersed. I love it. I'm with you on that, and I love the empathy and the human forward side. I work with a company doing VR for rehabilitation and for folks in wheelchairs, and watching what it can do. I think so many people think of it as just a game right now, or as something that's a fun way to watch content. And there really is a power here that's being tapped by the right companies, but really has infinite potential to do a whole lot of incredible stuff. So I'm going to close with one more general question, and then I'm going to go into our Fast Five, which will have every guest answer at the end of every show. So, and I really try not to make any call outs given my obvious bias as a female, but I couldn't help but notice what an empowered female leader you are at Ford. I love seeing that. I think it's fantastic. Again, to seeing is believing. More women need to see more women leading teams, because then we'll continue to do it and change the ratio. So what would you tell anyone, but especially a woman, considering pursuing a career in virtual reality or mobility and automotive?
Yeah. So in general, be yourself and be strong, and realize and celebrate your difference, because I am in a male dominated environment, and that's good, because that vehicle behind me, I care about the little details. I want things to look really well. Women are very visual. So I bring something totally different than my male counterparts do. Not totally different, but different enough. And so I think if you celebrate those differences, respect the differences, but realize when the differences are going beyond just, a different approach and are, negative in any way, and just kind of take care of it. Like as soon as something negative I thought was negative, I would just kind of address it. And you have to have the courage to very diplomatically bring up something that you might be bothered by. But other than that, I'd say just go with it, celebrate it. I've seen young women that come in to Ford, and they get like more strong in their tone, and they kind of change a little bit. And I wear pretty jewelry, and I like being girly, and it works. And like I said, I celebrate who I am, and I celebrate the people on my team.
That's fantastic. Beautifully said. Couldn't have said it better myself. I want to turn it to the studio audience one more time before we do our rapid close of the show. So I believe I have one of my dear friends who I actually, talking about making things, we made wine together years ago. Lynn, happy to have you in the studio today. Was this your first experience?
Yeah, it was. It was interesting. I've never put anything like this up to my face. Let alone, like I was in the driver's seat, or passenger seat rather, with one of the downloads I did.
Did it make you want to drive a race car?
Yeah, it really did.
And what about you, Charlie? I believe you've had some experience before, but what'd you think?
Yeah, it was cool to see how ground level you were. It really, you see the guys walk the car to the auto shop. You see the details of the cars, and then it pushes out, and they take off around you, and it's loud and fun.
Yeah, and how cool is that was just in my purse? I mean, I can't believe we have virtual reality headsets just that easy. It's so cool. If you haven't experimented with a cardboard headset, I really recommend it. It's a great way to get your first virtual reality experience, even if you're from age 6 to 86. Doesn't matter, anyone can use them, and Ford has a really fun one with their apps. Certainly made me feel like a race car driver as well. So before we go into the fast round, quick thank you again to everyone who has joined us on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. You are why we are here. You are how the show continues. We hope to continue to bring you awesome and inspiring stories from key ingredients at big and small companies alike around the globe, just like Elizabeth. So in conclusion of today's show, quickly, if you had a personal robot, what would you name it?
I was like, oh man, Rosie. That's my, do you remember the Jetsons?
Of course.
Yeah, she was a robot. And I'm like, she was cool. She had spunk.
She had some
She kept those kids in line, right?
answer. I was wondering if it was Rosie from the Jetsons or Rosie the Riveter.
That's right. I actually wondered if Rosie the Riveter, that's how Rosie from the Jetsons got her name.
Quite possibly. Well, excellent answer. And I mean, these are meant to be shot from the hip, so I like it. I like that you even had some rationale for that too. And actually, speaking of, my personal answer to this question is I thought we would be in flying cars now, like the Jetsons. What did you believe would be here as a child that isn't here yet?
Yeah, actually, flying cars I thought might be here and nowhere near. And I also thought immersive environments would have more senses by now. Like I thought we'd be able to get in a car and smell the new car smell. But, we're really not there yet. There's technology out there, but it's nowhere near. So I thought we would have more senses besides sight and sound that we would be able to experience in the immersive environment. But that means there's an opportunity for us, right?
Yes, it is, creatives. If you're out there listening, make the smell-o-vision real for virtual reality and make it actually work. Because there's been some weird experiences in smell land. I'm sure you've had some strange ones in product world too, Elizabeth. So
yeah,
it's one of the stranger things to recreate. And I'm that was a great answer. That was absolutely perfect. What problem do you hope technology solves in the next 5 years?
Ooh, so I hope it solves the visual issues that we still have. Like there's augmented reality is really cool, and a lot of times it works really well. But sometimes if you move your eyes, your virtual data doesn't move right, and there's like it's a little off. So I think there's a lot of work we can do in getting the virtual and physical to align that makes it more pervasive everywhere. So that's it. It's okay right now, but there's room for improvement. So I think we can do a lot with that and really get that pervasiveness and augmented reality out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a lot about your work. How do you play outside of work?
Actually, I love the natural world. I'm a big backcountry hiker. So I love to slap a backpack on, put my tent back there, and my husband and I go out and, totally disconnect and, hike all over beautiful places around the nation. So that's the number one thing I like to do to just detox. But, otherwise it's typical stuff, mountain biking, reading, all those other good things that, fill my mind.
I love that. I'm not sure mountain biking is typical for everyone, but you're clearly quite an adventurous spirit. And I love that. I wonder if we'll ever be able to have the virtual experience of a hike and that serenity and peace we get from the outside.
I know. And like the smell, right? The smell of the tree and the forest and the road, just all that stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
There's so much to do.
Yes, I know. There is so much to do. And so many lives to live within the one that we're given. So, Elizabeth, you have been an absolute wealth of information. Such a blast to have with us today. How can people reach out to you on Twitter and let you know they enjoyed the show?
Yeah, I have a Twitter handle. It's at Immersive Stories. So IMMERSIV stories.
Fabulous. You're also welcome to leave any questions or comments in the footer of this video here, and I will be more than happy to pass them on to Elizabeth and get a response or let her know what a great time you had. As always, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. My name is Savannah Peterson. This is Secret Sauce. Get the recipe. Please do like, share, and comment if you enjoyed this broadcast. We're really trying to get it off the ground, and every little bit makes a huge difference right now. As always, this show is absolutely physically impossible without the support of Rob Hicks, Sam Gonzalez, Enlightened, Audiovisual, and Aftermark. I would be not anything on the internet live right now with all these fabulous people without them. It takes a village. And I also want to give a real nice shout out to my studio audience for having their first virtual reality experience with us live here, actually getting to be with someone who was a part of creating that, which is so cool. Talk about a full circle serendipitous moment. On that note, who made this possible. Fantastic broadcast and a story that really needed to be told. I hope
you.
Yes. Any last words, Elizabeth?
I want to say thank you very much, Savannah, for having me on Secret Sauce. It's just been an absolute blast, and you are a delight and a wealth of information and an inspiration. So back at you, sister.
Thank you. Woo! You just gave me goosebumps. I wasn't expecting to end with the girl power, but I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
And I hope that all the ladies and gentlemen and gender fluids watching today feel a little more inspired and empowered and go on to create something more awesome than they were anticipating they could. Take a look at a Ford VR headset too, and I know they came out with a new car today. You can check out that announcement on their Facebook page. Once again, signing off from the lovely west coast of California, my name is Savannah Peterson, Sav is Savvy, and thank you for tuning in to Secret Sauce, Get the Recipe.